Okay, I'm going to give you the exact steps I give a paying client of mine on how to sign their very first high ticket client, you might call it. My clients like to say deep dive are going to be one-to-one. They're going to be bespoke and individualized based on who is coming towards you or who you find. We're going to start with that part. How do I find this person? And then we're going to look into how do we create the right conversation with them? How do we make an offer? How do we price it? Before we jump into any of that, I advise my clients for the next year at least to remove pricing from their website. You can have a link if you use something like Acuity to book. You might the first reaction to that is, oh God, the administration. It's just to take it off the public website. If you still want to offer hourly rate, then you can send them the private link. But you need to look at this next year as a research and development phase for you as you explore where the value is. Where do you offer your highest form of value? And we're going into this year now with a lot of curiosity, and we're going to be running experiments, and it all starts with conversation. So the first step is who. One of 3 people are going to be signups for you. Somebody who was moving towards you, made an inquiry, and instead of sending them your usual plans and offers, you set up a conversation with them. Number 2, it's somebody you're currently working with and you think you could go deeper with them. You could offer them something more immersive, more intensive, more goal orientated than the hourly sessions that you're doing at the moment. And number 3, it's somebody from your past, somebody you've worked with before who's experienced the quality of your work. So they deeply know, like, and trust you. There's a bond there already. And they would be open to hearing from you again. Obviously, it's easy with the people moving towards you. You just you set up a conversation with them. So we're not just sending them the prices and packaging. We're going to create, and that conversation doesn't need to be a pitch. That conversation needs to be just discovery, just curiosity, just hearing where they're at, what they need, and where they want to go. You will also have in mind there are certain things you're looking for in the kind of person you want to have a deeper engagement with. They might need to have professional aspirations or not. They may need to have, there could be some health things. If you're doing, say, I work with somebody in vocal health, there are certain things, boxes that they need to have ticked in terms of rehabilitation before they can do the work with her. So understand, maybe you need somebody to have gone through, have had a career already, or have been a teacher already, or have a lot of stage experience, or have already released music, or have done their own exhibition once, or have actually brought a show to Edinburgh. There are things that you feel like rites of passage that they will have needed to have gone through, or they already have a business up and running that you're able to come and take to the next level. What needs to already be for the work to work? And then what are your non-negotiables for yourself? So for example, a non-negotiable for me now is I only work with women, which there are just themes that I like to go deeper into that really resonate for women. There's a little bit more ease for me as well in terms of relating and being a support system. So that's something that I've had to take on as a non-negotiable. You will have some of those too. So think about that. You're looking around at existing clients, past clients, people coming towards you. What are your non-negotiables, and what are the things that they will have needed to have gone through already? Where do you need them to be on their journey to be ready to work with you, and for the work to work with them? Okay, so let's say you've got 2 inquiries, people coming towards you that you think look like a good fit. There's one client you're currently working with that you're like, I could really go deeper with them. And then there are 2 from your past that you reached out to, you checked in with them, let them know that you're trying something new. Would they be interested in having a conversation about it? And they said yes. And so you've booked in calls with them as well. Now, you can either do a pure discovery call where you're just listening and really getting awareness around what their goal is, what the problem is, where they are right now. which is just, classic sales before the pitch bit. So just the curiosity discovery bit at the beginning. And it's, I'll talk a little bit more about that, but just also what I'm seeing working and what works for me is to give free value plus discovery. So I like to work with somebody for an hour and just hear all about the business and understand it as deeply as I can. And then reflect back to them what I understood and suggest ways in which I think it could move going forward, or things could move going forward. And that's that serves both the discovery for me and giving value. I have other clients who like to work with somebody's voice. So I work with a lot of singing teachers, so they like to work with the voice and discover and learn and chat, so that they get everything that they need, and that I suppose they kind of test what the working relationship could be like as well. And it feels good to just be able to give, and there not to be an expectation of it going somewhere for either parties. So when you're doing that discovery, if you're not familiar with that side of sales, really what we're doing is creating awareness for the other and for yourself around what they want. And a lot of people need support in hearing themselves say out loud what they want and getting clarity around it, and where the blocker has been, the problems have been. And we can look back on history, hear about the patterns, and you're there just to ask really clear, clean, open questions to help them, tell them, they have all their answers, and we're just there to facilitate getting them to hear out loud what their answers are. And so it's important that we don't chat too much, and that we let them really have the room and space they need to think and bring things out into the light. So in those calls, we're either it's very diagnostic. So again, we're resisting, even if you're doing like the free value work, like you're working with the singer, you're less giving them the ins and outs and the ups and downs of everything you're hearing and seeing. You're suspending that judgment and instead just being deeply diagnostic and curious. And of course, you can give some synthesis of what is coming to light for you at the end, but it's way more powerful to just bring awareness to what's happening and what's reality right now for them, and what's the gap between where they want to be. At the end of that call, you have a couple of options. What I prefer is so somebody will say at the end usually like, what next? What do we do now? And I'm like, I actually think you should sit with what we have discussed today. I record the session usually with their permission. I advise them to listen to that, let it kind of percolate, integrate it. I really want somebody to be pulled towards working with me deeply from intuition and a sense of like, this is right. I don't want it to get too formalized and squeezed into a process. So I prefer that. So I tell them to go away and have a listen again, think about things. And if they feel called to working with me and I feel like it's the right thing too, then let's have a second conversation and we can create a plan together for working. So that's how I like to end them. Sometimes people will want to know a range in which my offers come, or like what's my price range, and I'm happy to share that. Or they might just ask what the price is of the work. And I can honestly say I don't know. And because I make everything bespoke based on who I'm working with, there are definitely patterns and norms there. But I will give a range instead. So you can end the call like that. Sometimes I have somebody who's just like ready to go. They're like, yeah, got it, love it. This is what I need. I was ready before we even had a conversation, to be honest. And so I book them in straight away for the second call to plan, but I still do the second call. I still really like to slow it down. So I could just pitch there and then, but I wait. you can do anywhere in between those two things. You can let them know at the end of the conversation, I think we could work together. I'd like to come up with a plan for you. Is that something you're interested in? And make sure you have their permission to go and do that, because you don't want to go to the trouble of doing that and then the second call they don't say yes. So we want to make sure that there's a yes down the line. There are some of the ways that you can end that call. And then the second call, this is the next part, is your pitch, your offer. Now, there's a great book called The Win Without Pitching Manifesto by Blair Enns. There's a wonderful podcast he did, an episode he did about, I'll put it in the description. The book is good, but I find the book a tiny bit jarring because it's spoken in this manifesto speak. And I actually enjoy he has one conversation with a man named Chris Doe on YouTube 7 years ago. I remember listening to it back in 2021, and it was like absolute light bulbs for me. So I'll put that in. But the premise is that it's conversation over presentation. And we're not like, rolling up to this call and just beating them over the head with all our ideas and all the things we see for how we're going to work together and how it's all going to change the world. And it's like, whoa. Conversation. This can be co-creative. So that second call is wonderful. Oh, actually, in between those calls, if you want, you can send them something if it feels appropriate. Further education about your method and the way that you're doing things and the way that you see things. Anything that can help them really further support them in their decision making. So, okay, we're on the second call. We don't want it to be a big pitch presentation. We want it to be a conversation. I would always open the call with how are you? As in, how are you feeling since we talked last? Anything come up? And oftentimes people tell me about conversations they've had with other people about it, things that came up when they went for a walk, how they had this big excitement after we spoke and they started looking up all of this stuff, and now they're just kind of buzzing and but they're also kind of nervous, and are they, so we just kind of hold everything that's there, and I can speak to that, and then I share back with them what stood out to me and what was clarity for me after we spoke, and how I see it, and do I have it right? Do I understand clearly what we're moving towards, what we're working towards? Do I understand clearly what the pain is that they're in and what they don't want to be anymore? And then we go from there. I'm like, okay, here's my idea, and I will share my idea in a process. And so I will share it with what I think needs to happen first. And so, for example, for me, what I believe needs to happen first is confidence in how I'm talking about pricing and pitching and selling as a person in the creative education space. No, this isn't the normal way people are doing things. So I believe that the first part of the process with me is to prove the concept and just get one person to sign up. And this is actually, now I'm kind of taking the work that I do in the paid engagement at the beginning now and putting it all into this video, because I believe if you just get the transformation here with this video, then it's less work for me to do later and we can get into the cool, deep stuff together. But yeah, so the first thing is to prove the concept so you can go, oh wow, okay, this is real. I can do this. Somebody said yes to this. This is work I really care about. This is happening. So so back to the conversation that we're having, not the presentation. I'm sharing that first part of the process with them. And then I check with them, do you get that? Is that how you understand it? Are there other things that you expected to happen in that time, or what are you looking for here? And there'll be other little nuancy things about them and their business that we'll need to take care of in the first. Oh, sorry. Why am I saying sorry to the laptop? Sorry. Oh God, I need to go to Irish woman sorry therapy. If there's a workshop I can go to, why do we reflex and say sorry to inanimate objects? Okay, so where was I? There'll be other little nuancing things that it wasn't in my awareness that we'll need to take care of in the first 3 months for that person and their business. And then we can onboard what that is together. And I'm like, yeah, got it. So we'll need to contact this person. You're going to need to let go of this. Some people have to let go of admin jobs, and there's a bit of restructuring that needs to happen. And I'm like, on board all of that. And then I talk about the next part of the phase. That's it, done then. Once we've agreed totally on what is the situation we want to get out of right now, and once we've agreed totally on the validity of the process and they have confidence in it and they have confidence in the direction that I'm taking them in, it's done, in my opinion. But there'll be other bits and bobs they'll want to know. Sometimes I genuinely forget to mention this stuff. How often we meet. Are we going to... if we're doing something in person, I'm very excited to share that and talk about some weekend that we're going to organise. But yeah, if they're just sessions that we're meeting up and we have access on WhatsApp, and I let all of that come through as questions rather than kind of going, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this. I just go, okay, hit me now with all the questions. What do I need to clarify for you? And then they can ask, and I can just give the information as they need it. And then it comes to the price. So how are you going to price it? If you haven't watched the other video, the value-based fees video, it's going to be hard for you to get your head around this, but you're going to price for the transformation. I need you to think about get really into the vision of the transformation for the client. Like, in a year's time, we go through this process in the committed, excited way that we are right now, and we give it everything we've got. And they get to that place, and that new place might be they're finally in the world as the artist they've always wanted to be, which they have suppressed for 20 years of their adult life. And now they're finally giving themselves permission to release the music, to book the show, to do the thing. And you facilitated that with them. Now they did it, but you were the facilitator, and you created the space for them to make that happen, and you provided the expertise. What is that worth to them? Their whole life, this has been a part of their identity that they have suppressed. And finally, they found a way, and they found a person that they can trust and that they believe in to help guide them through that. You might put a price tag of 20,000 on that, right? Or 50,000. I don't know. It'll actually come from a feeling like that's worth that, you know? And so now if I were one of the lads, I'd probably say, so you pitch them the 50K. But I don't think you should do that. I think the other thing you should take into consideration is your own energetic conviction. Now, intellectually, you might see the value and understand the value and go, yeah, of course it's worth that, right? But your body hasn't quite gotten the memo. And we need to find the price point that you can really stand over emotionally, that isn't going to dysregulate you, that's going to give you a little bit of a stretch. You're going to feel like, yeah, of course. But there'll be that's what it's valued at. That's what I'm ready to say. And I actually want you to say a price point that feels like a steal as well for the level of transformation that you are willing to support them in achieving. And so that might fall down to 8K. You might go, yeah. I mean, I think it's an incredible journey they're about to go on. I think that's a real steal. It's not the actual value of it, I think. But I think that's the right investment for them to come in all with the commitment that they need to arrive into this with, and with my commitment, and for me to be able to be abundantly available to them over that process to get the result. So you're going to make a value-based offer to somebody who you've worked with in the past, you're currently working with, or who is already coming towards you, who meets the criteria of your non-negotiables, well, as much as you know, of your non-negotiables and the things that they may have needed to have experienced up until now to be ready to do the work. You're going to book them in for a conversation. That conversation can be a mixture of value and discovery, or it might be just pure discovery, whatever you like. Then you're going to, if it's appropriate, invite them to have a second call with you on which you will pitch, but you're going to pitch through conversation, not presentation. It's going to be co-created with the main clarity and focus in the conversation around where are we going, what's the direction of all of this, what do we really want, what are the problems we're trying to solve, this current painful situation we're trying to exit, and then give them the assurance and the confidence by showing them your thoughtful process and way in which you're going to move them through what they need to move through. Then you choose your price point and you share that with them, and provided everything has gone correctly up until now and they have an inness, then they should be ready to make the investment. So good luck. You're welcome to let me know how you get on. And if you haven't already, I recommend joining our school group. It's a really cool gang of women in there. We meet most weeks. We have a great discussion every week about everything and anything. All kinds of people come into the calls. There's always somebody new on the call, and somebody who there are regulars on the call. And it's just a lovely group dialogue. It's a very honest space. I believe myself to be very, we never post the replays of the call. So it's like we can all be very real in the moment, and it's lovely. So I recommend it if you're interested in hanging out with us. Okay, bye.